3d6 down the line.
Okay, that is episode 60 in the book, the end of Delve 4. Cut scene. We are done. Well done, guys.
I can't believe that worked. I can't believe that worked.
Wow. So
I am so disappointed that I missed like the last session. You guys got to do the coolest stuff in that one.
had a lot of fun. We had a good time. We had a good time for sure. I mean, two sessions in a row that really worked out despite all odds. I mean, it was a lot of luck and quick thinking, but a lot of luck, I think. So.
The best thing of all, no consequences, right? Like we're just like scot-free. We went, we did the heist, we made it out, we got it. No loose ends.
No loose ends at all, yeah. No. In one way, though, I mean, no lives were lost. No protagonist lives were lost.
I'm going to stick with that. I think our hands are pretty clean.
I think it was totally. Yeah, we're all good. No, I mean, it is. I don't have much to say on this regard, but we've had a few situations like this. We've had several that went terribly wrong. We all died or near died, and et cetera, et cetera. And I think when those like our Desperado, when those things happen, it feels totally intractable and like, oh, nothing we're doing is right, et cetera, et cetera. But this is like, it's a good testament where the pendulum swings with, to keep using the cliche, combat is war, right? Which is like, if we prep stuff and we really think shit through, it feels like we're cheating when it works, right? Mm-hmm. Because we're not playing a sporty game. We're playing a strategy game, right? Mm-hmm. And even to us, experienced players, I can't speak for John, but probably to him some too, it feels wrong sometimes. You're like, right? Yeah. Like, I don't know, like this, in either direction, right? And that really is a testament to like the play style still after a year is kind of being like surprising, like, oh, right. We invested in these ways and this is a result. Now, things could have gone terribly wrong still, right? But having 26 people in a retinue, right? Like certainly helps a lot of things, right?
I had a lot of contingencies actually where I thought that swaths of the goblins would die at a time. But you outsmarted me. Actually, like there was a numerous divergent points where I was sure that they were going to eat it. Like, I mean, like I thought they were going to serve their purpose and that they would basically provide a buffer of meat, basically for you. But then you would have the tough decision of like being down goblins. How would you get as much gold as you could out of there? But you outthought all of the nefarious schemes I had in mind for you, and they lived fair and square. Like I didn't cheat anything,
And I'll say one thing and then let the other guys talk in response to that. That's what's so interesting. Again, it's like not all of that is evident in a non-sporty game, right? Because like winning or losing or expressing strategy happens on like like if we're playing 5-year-old, it's like it's not what I choose in a turn and how we like engage in like a balanced X, Y, or Z. Us having ideas that are, in John's words, he said it, not me, outsmarting him. Ooh, say it again, John. Careful, pal. So but like that's something that's kind of invisible to us in a way. I mean, in other words, if it works out, we don't know how we outsmarted John without him saying it explicitly, right? Right. And that doesn't feel like, again, it is strategy, but it doesn't feel like strategy in the way that like games and like the way that like war games would feel like strategy, right? It's a very like invisible, thoughtful sort of chess match going in the meta as well as within the narrative itself. It's interesting. I enjoy it, obviously, but go, Ted.
Well, we've talked about this before, but I think it's worth repeating. We might have newer viewers who haven't necessarily seen all the detoxes and stuff. And I think we've highlighted that this is kind of the thing that we love the most about this old school play style, which is that, careful thinking and planning and, creativity are rewarded. But just as importantly, the GM's role of like, here's the setting, I'm not fudging it, I'm not messing with it, I've decided that X will lead to Y and A will lead to B and whatnot. And like Matt and I were playing earlier today, and as a young kid, we were having to kind of help him along a little bit, but he came up with some interesting ideas. And, so I was in the position of like, okay, well, this is the story. He's doing this thing. I don't have necessarily all the details to hand, but I get to make it up. And I think that's the fun bit, right? Is like making things up so that the play continues to happen. It's not about like making it most narrative or most dramatic. It's keeping the thing happening. He gets successes for his ideas, you know, and they were within the boundaries of the adventure as written. Does that make sense? I mean,
It does.
We've done this before, and I think it works well, and I'm glad that that's how John plays it, because you know.
And I would say, like, one point I would put into that is, you know, you hear things like being a fan of your players very commonly, and even in modern, like, be a fan of your players, etc. So, or like story-oriented games, and I think that's a big component of that, right? Being a fan of wanting them to succeed. But I think OSR, old school play, also becomes about being a fan of the characters, being a fan of the world, right? And I think what that expresses as is what you're talking about, which is like players and GM alike are engaging in a form of creativity that isn't necessarily about winning or losing or success or fairness, although it is, right? It's a commitment, a positive commitment, whether the outcome is positive, always, right? That's that conversation thing that we've talked about before, which is really exciting. And I think that's why being a fan of your players isn't enough. It's like just being a fan of, I don't know what I would say, the table, you know, I don't know. It's like, that's a really useful sentiment. And
Delve. You gotta be a fan of the Delve.
Yeah.
Matt wanted to say something.
Matt, go. Yeah.
I can't. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I'm looking forward to, you know, years from now, when we wrap this, like we've explored we've grind every coin out of Arden Vool. I'm looking forward to that wrap party where we can go back and ask John all this stuff that missed us and that we missed.
It's going to be thoroughly disappointing because I'm going to have forgotten it all. That's the problem.
But I mean, there are going to be a few things, right? Like if we had turned left, there was like this horrible beholder ready to just like blast us all or whatever, right? Yeah. Or if we turned right, there was like another, you know, treasure hoard larger than this one that we just walked right on by. And, you know, none of us know that. All of the viewers get to see your screens and see all of the horrible mistakes and horrible things that we're missing. That, you know, it's a long way off, but I'm very curious when we're all able to talk openly and like find out all these, you know, all the paths untaken, all the doors unopened, right?
Matt, you're such a Pollyanna, dude. I'm gonna be roofing John at Gary Con and immediately flipping open his notebook. John, man, I'm making brownies, bro.
Well, I tell you, that's a good reason to join the Patreon, actually, because I have an ongoing discussion in the one channel that these four guys are not allowed to be
Bastards.
in. It's basically like a group of Patreon members who also have like a copy of Arden Vool. Most of them do anyways, and all we do is laugh at the things that you guys do.
Perfect.
That's pretty. It's pretty enjoyable.
Maybe now the question of why there are so many Matts.
Exactly.
A couple sock puppets. Yeah.
I do actually plan though on getting the PDF at least of Arden Vool when we move on to our next thing or whatever happens, right? Like, and I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna listen to the episode. I'm gonna be like, you son of a bitch.
Well, the funny thing about that though, because like the game I was talking about that I'm running with Matt for these kids is Winter's Daughter, and it's not going at all the way it went for us when we played Dolan Wood.
Sure.
So you buy AV the Arden Vool, and you're going to go through that, and you're like, that's not how John did that. What's going on? You know, and it's going to be different for you.
It's vastly different. There's been a lot of people who have started up AV campaigns in sort of our wake, and they've all been talking about on the Discord that it's like vastly different.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, it's a mega dungeon, right? You're never going to duplicate it. Even people who are steeped in our campaign are players in these other campaigns, and even knowing what they know 60 episodes into ours, it's like completely fresh to them. You know, basically, awesome. Like they know who Plumthorn is. You know, that's like the extent of it. You know,
Plumthorn was
exactly. Going back to the episode, though, I changing gears here. I was actually kind of shocked that you guys didn't question Estelle. I thought you guys were going to ask her about the form of set and stuff like that.
I gotta say, man, I sat on my hands for the Estelle stuff because I wasn't around last week and I wasn't available for the planning calls and all the rest of that. But I'm like, are you kidding me? She knows so much. She knows so much. She knows like everybody. And you guys are like, later. And
yeah,
like,
I was kind of like giving you like, you're letting her go? You're letting her go? Because I really thought that you I don't know if there's something like you forgot or you just were like, we don't really need the info, but I was just kind of curious.
Totally forgot we were going to question her completely.
Dude,
okay, all right.
I said in the session, I go, are we not going to ask her about Garrelad or any of these other things? And then you guys were like, no.
No, you said Garrelad. Yes, you said that. And I don't think we should talk about Garrelad. I just didn't dawn on me that you meant question her about lots of stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, if you forgot, you forgot. It's no big deal. I was just kind of wondering. It kind of shocked me.
No, I think we forgot. I definitely was like caught up in the moment, and there was definitely stuff that we meant to ask and meant to say to her that we just didn't.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I mean, Ted was trying to seduce her for like a third of the episode. Really, that
Gagliano voice is really a ringer.
I almost ran down the hallway after she disappeared in this house. She would have been my first kill. I was also invisibility myself and come back with that mace and be like, I don't know.
I was also shocked too, Matt, that I know you're playing the character, but you've been after a magical blunt weapon forever, and I can't believe I served it up to you on a platter and you didn't take it.
You don't even know what that staff does, man.
Oh, the staff.
I in my head, I know what it. I've created this whole headcanon about what it does. I just couldn't see doing it. I just couldn't see doing it. Like the only way.
Your dude's name is a take on greed.
And that's why you have dirty bastards like me in the game, dude, because I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. But it's all right. She's in the wind. She's in the wind. We'll just have to see what the ramifications of that'll be.
We'll see, but yeah, like it is really weird. Like he is very greedy. He does want this coin, but I look, and I know that it's whatever it is, but like I do like read what Lycion is about, like creativity, but and wine and fun and all this stuff that he's about. He is also about rage, right? Like, so all the times that Avaricios has been like, yeah, these guys got to go, or we got to kill him. Like, for me at least, that's consistent with who he is. Like, if somebody's threatening his life or his like, this is like, like those wine dark guys that he said off. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those guys the day before had said, if you mess with us, we are going to kill you. We messed with them. He took them at his right. Yeah, that was the thing.
I get it. Yeah.
Right. We don't have to get into it too far.
I think us as a group does a lot of our role playing inside our heads, right? Like we all have character motivations for our characters. We don't necessarily emote them all the time, except Ted.
Yes, it's true.
It sounds so good when he does.
That's always been the way I've been most comfortable in role playing. Is just like I have my character motivations. I'll do things. David's done that for sure. I always think about Mud Clump sacrifice in Winter's Daughter, and it's always like none of us would have guessed that would have been that character's final moment until it happened, right? So Gorand holding down the door like from the death bot trying to save people. Like there's moments where your character comes out even though you're not comfortable talking in a funny voice,
100%.
Yeah.
What's funny about it?
I also have no idea what you're talking about.
And if you join our Patreon, we'll talk about characterization and embodiment even more on the Discord, as we have, because we've talked about it a good bit. Yeah, it's never a and or, right? I think I like character voice. I do it a lot less, especially in Arden Fool, because so much of my brain is like all of my bandwidth is spent thinking about the scenario. Right. And I am thinking about like you said, like I am thinking about my motivations, right? It's not, I think it's a little bit funny, not to break the fourth wall a bit, but like the perception that I like am less interested in role playing because of the like fidelity of what I see as Arden Vool's like strategic demands, even though I think I'm role playing right at times, is interesting, right? Because I'm not using character voice, right? Or I'm just acting out actions as David rather than as character. And that can create its own like series of conflations, right? Like, is this just David doing a thing, or is this David's character doing a thing, etc.? It's very interesting. Go, Mike.
Is anyone thinking about utilizing the stable mechanic for the next session? This is kind of like our first opportunity to do that. And I know I am.
Yeah, that's
like, well, I have a lot of options. I can go a caster or
another caster
or a caster. And I think they're all level 1-ish.
We've got a level 2 guy now.
Yeah,
level 2 guy now.
This is big for you guys, though.
Ironically, the worst of the 3 I rolled is now level 2. Classic.
That's a good point, though,
funny.
Mike. This is the first time where you see the stable in action and on a fresh delve, too. And don't forget, too, that your end goal is the hope that the Goblin Court is a safe haven. So whoever you take down there, those are the guys getting the XP for that gold. Should you get it there safely, right? So you have to think about both the utility that the character brings and what you anticipate your dangers will be, and who do you actually want to actually get that sweet loot, sweet XP.
It kind of has to be Mort, right? Like Mort has to go.
Yeah. You don't. Yeah, I mean, you have a choice to, but that seems to be the obvious one. Yeah.
I mean, I might actually take my cleric down, and not for any reason other than, the idea of a giant dude with 2 big braids and a big beer belly sticking out of his like breastplate is great for me. Like, I'm happy with that. So I might just do that. Like, I mean, I'm literally my highest level character right now is an assassin that's never hit anybody in combat, and it's starting to like.
Your first mistake was playing with us.
On a meta level, Mike, too, the clerics have a pretty high XP gain, high level XP rate gain.
Right. I like that too. Like that's something that is pretty cool for me. And playing a spellcaster, I haven't been able to do in this campaign, so that's kind of cool. So I don't know. Maybe.
And then you have to choose what retainers you're going to bring with you as well, if any.
We got to let Sam do something. I feel so guilty about Sam.
Sitting there on level 1.
Yost is pretty beat up. He'd probably quite like to just lie around and roll dice with the goblins for a few days.
Listen.
Wow.
As Sam's official or used to be
Binder?
mentor, boss, I guess. I've given her the best life she could live. All right. She's getting drunk and gambling with goblins. She's not fucking around with us, risking her life with a bunch of jerks that die every couple sessions. I mean, Sam is living life. She gets the loot. She hangs. Early retirement. All right.
Yeah.
You never take her out. You've never taken her to the opera or out to dinner. Nothing.
I know. And my ex had the same complaint. And,
Sam's cool. We just haven't seen much of her in action. But you'll have to contend with the community, Ted, if you leave Yost behind. See how people take it.
Yost.
I think I very well. Go ahead.
No. Well, I was going to say, if you do leave Yost behind, then, Njal and Yost kind of, they fill that. I mean, not in anyone's hearts, but at least party wise, they pick up that same spot, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think if Yost stays behind and the Goblin King eats Mort, then Yost rides again, you see.
To end it here, I guess we can. I'm kind of, as I'm talking to you guys, I'm also doing the Feats of Exploration, which you can buy a published copy for on Drive-Thru RPG. You guys you very rarely hit these. You hit there's only 2 10%ers. You hit both of them. One of them is completing a quest, which can be either a 5% or a 10%, but I'm giving you the 10% because it was a major quest to get the money back. So you're getting that one. And then you're also getting the manipulating or crippling a faction to your benefit. That's also going to be 5% per 10%, but I'm going to give you a 10% for what you did to the Wine Dark, what your actions led to for the Wine Dark cohort. So I'm going to give you that one as well. So you're going to be getting some Boku XP for that. And
worst mistake they ever. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if anyone ever wants to check out my worksheets that I use for this, I always post the latest one for each episode in the video description on YouTube. So in the original videos description, not the detox video.
I think all those guys had to do was accept our offer. That's all they had to do.
Yeah.
No, they still would have gotten eaten by the dragon, bro.
Yeah, and be aware that too, that it, at least what you've heard from the goblins is that the entire Wine Dark cohort that was contingent that was brought up here specifically to retrieve that has been wiped out by Kraz. But that's a small drop in the bucket of the entire cohort, right? Like they're like a multinational, they go everywhere. Right. They're called the Wine Dark cohort, by the way. I don't know if I ever told you this, because the gigantic ocean that dominates the entire setting is the Wine Dark Sea.
I think you did mention that. Yeah,
and so they basically pride themselves on being able to be dispatched to anywhere within the greater empire. You know what I mean?
And John, where would you say their leader's bedroom was exactly? I know a guy with a fire pit, and
the fire pit calls to you. Yeah. The actual leader of the Wine Dark cohort you met during the scouring, that was Nicasia, the woman who was leading the troops. She was the general, the commander of the entire mercenary company. And just remember that it was Bergdorf was the guy who was in charge of this particular contingent. Nicasia was nowhere to be found.
And those dudes never would have been up here if we hadn't hired them to go down and scour the Shire.
Worst thing that ever happened to them was talking to us. Tends to be reputationally common. That's exactly.
Everybody.
I don't think I told you I gave Sam a gift. She can just do her own thing.
Do we need to start a? Go ahead.
I was going to say, maybe John needs to add to the Feats of Exploration, just like lives ruined. And you just get, for every hatch mark, you get 100 Greek XP or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Do we need to start a countdown for when the Goblin Empire is just dust?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, all just looking up the pyramid and everything's just like a wasteland. Like all of this is ours.
Yeah, you mean the canonically perfect ending of the Arden campaign?
Absolutely.
Wait, guys. I figured it out. In this spaceship, there's like a time loop. The massive destruction that we see up there is the destruction that we're causing right now.
Oh my God. That's big brain sort of stuff right there.